as the spiritual leader of this community, I have been struggling, I've been contemplating, I've been looking at what is my role here as being a minister, as being somebody to speak the truth, when in the world of appearances there are sides that it seems that we need to be taking. How do I approach this? And the only thing I know is to approach it from truth, capital P, truth, which is changeless, doesn't change up on you. It's the same always, today, tomorrow, forever. And this Rumi poem that I quoted speaks of that truth. It speaks about going beyond to that field of oneness. And that's what we've been talking about for weeks. That's what we talk about every time. Hello, we're unity. We're unity. Unity means oneness. Unity means that there isn't otherness. Unity means that there isn't separateness, that there isn't right and wrong. Unity means that we rise above the battlefield together, that we may see anew. And we do not ever see from the battlefield this vision. We cannot. We must rise above it. If we're going to be committed to staying in the battlefield and taking our stand therefrom, all that we are doing is perpetuating a cycle. It's a compulsion. It's a habitual cycle. It's a feedback loop. If we watch it long enough, it repeats the themes, the ideas, the languaging, the ideas of war, the ideas of separation, the ideas of sin, the ideas of death. It repeats. And from that battlefield, from the consciousness that created that, there is no way out. So you can take a side all day long. But unless you take a side from having healed from within, all of your reactions, all of your anger, all of the ways that you want to fight, to argue, to put forth your idea over somebody else's, it will be for naught, and you will simply exhaust yourself. Now, mind you, I am not saying that we are not a stand in the world, but I am saying what kind of stand will we be? And will we heal from within ourselves first, that we may rise to be powerful beyond measures, to tap into that power, that faith that literally moves mountains, moves mountains. What does that mean? It moves form, because form is temporary. Form and all of these conditions of the world are simply outpicturings of our thought patterns. We say that thoughts are things. We mean those thoughts are those mountains, those situations, those conditions, the diagnosis, the disharmony in your relationship, the arguing and the fighting, the politics, the borders, the keeping people out, the thinking that there's something other than us. I mean, that's what this is about. And so unless we take that stand from a different place, the beat goes on. Oh my gosh, I'm channeling Sonny and Cher. The beat goes on and on and on. And so I feel that my job here is to keep bringing us back to truth, bringing us back to who we are, bringing us back to the very first axiom of truth, which is that you are created as God created you to be, now and forevermore. Yes, you have a body in this experience, but that's like a mountain. That's a condition. Is your body eternal? Does anybody here believe that it is going to last forever and forever and forever? One of the top industries in our world is cremation services, funeral homes, hospitalizations, all kinds of things to keep this body alive. And so that is a thought. This is a form. I am trying to direct us beyond form to the formless. Who you are, who you be, is beyond your body and your identity in the world. You are spirit. I am spirit first and foremost and forevermore. Having made this experience that I might play at what? Play at forgetting that I might remember again. That's why we talk about waking up. And it doesn't have to be traumatic. We can wake up gently. We can allow whispers in your ear. We can allow the gentle nudge. But the pattern seems to be that we prefer it to be painful. But the pattern seems to be that it is jolting. But the pattern seems to be that things get worse until we choose that they be better. That the cosmic 2x4 got us finally. And now we're going to do it differently, right? And that we begin to shift from this idea that pain pushes until vision pulls us. And the only way that vision can pull us is to be willing to let go of all that. Now, we say we want that, but if we truly and indivisibly wanted that, it would be already. So the question is, what doth hinder us? What doth hinder us? It's scary, we think, to move from there to here, because then who the heck would we be? And what fun would it be to be happy all the time? What would we do with ourselves? I mean, really, what would I talk about? I mean, we like the drama. We do. So, the conversation, I think I digress. But our conversation, I did not digress. I take that back. I cancel, because all that has been perfect. How do we get to that field? From here to there, how do we get to that field? How do we bridge that gap is really what we're always talking about. And how we bridge that gap is forgiveness. Forgiveness is that key to freedom. And in forgiveness, we're not talking about the forgiveness, the kind of forgiveness where me, holier than thou, who knows more than you, who is actually on the right side of the argument, am going to bestow upon you, ignorant you, my forgiveness. That's not what we're talking about. It's magnanimous. Makes us feel kind of full of ourselves. But that's not what I'm talking about, because that continues the cycle. We're not out of the field of right doing and wrong doing when that's the consciousness from which we're coming. And so the type of forgiveness that we're talking about is a different kind of forgiveness, a true forgiveness, a capital T true forgiveness, where we become willing to let go of our ideas fully and completely, where we are, as Doug sings about, where we're willing to become still for an instant and go home. Where we're willing to become still for an instant that we might rise above that battlefield, that we might disengage from our position for just a moment, and rise. Because of my positionality, egoic mind, I can't rise. So I become for a moment to question, is there a better way? Is there a better way? And I take a breath, because I'm sure there's not, but I'm willing to pause. Claudia said to pause. I'm going to pause, I'm going to breathe. There's got to be a better way. And in that stillness, we invite divine mind. We invite spirit, holy and divine. In that moment, we invite something else to teach us. And that's not something separate from us, but something within us that remembers already. And we invite that into our consciousness. Because what we know is that anything that we have made or created in the world, at least as we're experiencing it currently, isn't working. And so remember I said our mind, our thoughts are powerful, that they are the mountain makers. They're the creator of our experience. And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that. Because once everything seems to be solidified, the landscape of our lives seems to be painted, and we seem to be identified with it and populating it and active in the landscape, in the cities, and the experiences of our life, we begin to think that it rules us. We begin to think and ask permission of conditions for what we want and desire. And it can't. It doesn't have intelligence. You do. You do. And so we step back and we access that intelligence and remember, oh yeah, I am the creator of my experience. Oh yeah, when I'm upset by something I see in the landscape and the perfection of the ashram of my landscape, which has only been made to remind me to come home. So everything that you're reacting to right now is self-created, no judgment. That's the freedom. There's no judgment in that. If it's self-created, you can choose again. So everything that we see in the world that we're reacting to, that we hold contempt, that we're angry, that we want to attack, then just pause and remember, oh yeah, that's the outpicturing of my consciousness. And then I can choose again. But not of my own self, of a higher self. And so the title of the talk is Forgiveness is ... freedom. And when I was contemplating this, I was thinking, well, what's the opposite of freedom? Imprisonment. What's the opposite of freedom? No choices. I actually thought of what happens when a person goes to prison. What happens when a person is incarcerated? What happens? Your identity is taken away. You're taken out of the landscape of your life. You are shamed. You've been held in contempt. You're given a number for your identification. You all wear the same things. No differentiation. And then in the population, and I can only imagine just based on shows I've seen, what happens? It starts recreating the landscape from before. There start to be cliques and groups and them versus us and boundaries and colors that distinguish which side you're on. And there's arguing and there's maneuvering, right? In some ways, it doesn't seem that different than when you turn on the news. And so what I'm proposing here is that we are only first free. We only seek freedom because we know freedom. It's inherent within us. And so one of the inspirations for this talk was something that we've alluded to before with forgiveness, but that if you can imagine a prison for the criminally insane, for the individuals who are violent, and imagine that a state-run prison like this, within 4 years, ended up closing their doors. Because one by one and slowly, healings occurred. And things shifted. The landscape shifted. Peeling paint on the walls became walls that were taken care of. People were granted to be outside and outdoors. There was harmony. Workers who didn't want to come to work suddenly were wanting to come to work. What happened? What was the shift that occurred? And if we go back and we look at it, and many of you have heard of the concept of Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian term, and that there was a doctor in this prison named Hugh Len, and he practiced this concept of forgiveness. And within 4 years, this state prison closed its doors because there were not enough inmates. And how did he do this? You know, he never saw one patient. He never face-to-face saw an inmate. What he did was he took full responsibility for having created within his own mind that this could occur, that this dynamic could occur in another. He took full responsibility. He took the individual files and read the files. And as he read them, he felt what he felt within his body. Perhaps contempt, perhaps fear, perhaps compassion. And he did this process within himself where he accessed the divine within his being. Because of himself, he could not heal his mind of what he was reading, what he was seeing. And so he would repeat to himself from the divine, as the divine, I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. Over and over. I love you is unification, is dedicating your mind, your thought to union, to love. I love you is saying that there is nobody out there, that we are all one, that we are all connected in heart and mind. And that if a brother or sister, if I'm perceiving a brother or sister to be amiss in some way, that it is a projection of an unhealed aspect of me, of my mind, the one mind. I love you is what we talk about, dedicating all thoughts to union, to God is, I am. To I am in relationship with my brothers and sisters in all of creation. I love you, I join. The I'm sorry, a lot of times we scold people in our community. Don't say I'm sorry, everything's okay, you know, it's all perfect. It's all perfect when people say I'm sorry. But the I'm sorry is a symbol of repenting. Repenting means simply to turn away. To turn from the power of the condition, to turn away from the battlefield, to turn away from duality, to turn away from rightness and wrongness, to turn away from the split mind to oneness. That I'm sorry, I'm going to turn this way now. I'm not going to give you that attention anymore because what I focus on continues. I'm willing to I'm sorry, I repent, I turn to the one mind, to the light that is me. So I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Forgive me. That's the forgiveness piece. Forgive within me the consciousness that created what I am experiencing and seeing and reacting to. Forgive within me those aspects of myself, those moments when I was insane, those moments when I found you to be separate. Forgive within me anything unlike love. Forgive within me those moments when I met your cry for love with an attack. Forgive within me those moments when I didn't seek to understand your position and view you and regard you as a brother, as one with me. Forgive me. Thank you. Thank you. Gratitude, transmutation. Gratitude, I've risen. It is in that when I rise. This is powerful, powerful system that is consistent with every teaching that we have here. It is an ancient practice that was most often used to mediate unresolved disputes between families. Are we not all family? They believed that healing could come only with complete forgiveness of the whole family. The whole family. And so this is our practice. This is the message today, is that this type of forgiveness, this type of true forgiveness is our bridge. You know, I had the thought, we talk a lot about being saved. And when we're in the battlefield, we do need to be saved. We do need to be saved, but not because we are inherently sinners, but because we have forgotten who we are. And so through our forgiveness practice, beginning with the I love you, we remember who we are. We turn from that condition. We forgive. The divine within you forgives. And then we let go.